Now that the weather has finally cooled down here in the high desert, it's time to transition your summer garden for fall and winter gardening. Today, I'm going to show you what I do to clear out my summer garden and get ready for fall planting. Stick around. This is In the Garden. Thanks for joining me. Whether you're a new viewer or a returning subscriber, I'm glad you're here. This is In the Garden, where I share tips and tools to help new gardeners be successful in backyard vegetable gardening. In my last video, I talked about how it's hard to know exactly when to plant your fall gardens because the weather in October is really unpredictable. This year was a really good example of that because it stayed hot all the way until the first week of November. Now that it's finally starting to cool down, we're ready to get our fall gardens ready for planting. So today, I'm going to show you what I do to prepare my summer garden and get it ready for planting in the fall. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, and if you want to get more content like this, gardening videos to help you be successful, consider subscribing so you can get even more content. Now, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take down my shade cloth. I put that up in the summer to protect my plants from the heat and the direct sunlight, but during the winter, you're not going to want to cover your garden with anything. You're going to want to make sure that your plants are getting full sun so they can stay warm and continue growing. So take down any shade cover or anything you have above your garden. As you take your shade cloth down, you're going to want to make sure you fold it up nicely and store it somewhere so it doesn't get damaged so you could use it again next spring. The next thing you're going to want to do is start taking out the old dead plants. If there's any fruit that's left on them, you can go ahead and pick that and save it now. Otherwise, just start taking the plants out. The way I like to do it is just by cutting the plants out right at the ground level with a pair of snips. This leaves all the roots in the ground as organic matter. Now you're only going to do that with things you intended to be in your garden, like your tomatoes and squash. If there's any weeds or anything else like that, you're going to pull them out right at the root. You're going to want to make sure that you're also careful that you don't damage any of your drip lines that are throughout your garden while you're cutting things and pulling things out. And if you find that it's too difficult to cut the plants off at the ground, it's fine just to pull them out by the roots as well. Everything that you pull out of your garden, you're going to want to toss it right into your compost bin. Don't throw anything away. Weeds like this, you're definitely not going to put those in your compost. You're going to throw these right in the trash. You don't want to accidentally introduce these seeds into your garden next year. You're also going to want to make sure that you're taking your tomato cages out and being sure not to damage them and just storing them for next year. One of the easiest ways to get the tomato out of the cage without damaging the cage is just to cut off all the limbs little by little until it comes out easily. If you just try to pull it all out at once, you're probably going to damage the cage. Now that I have all the plants taken out of the garden, I'm going to move my drip line to the side so that I can finish cleaning up all the leaves and other debris that's left behind. Be sure you go back through your garden and pick up any of the little stakes that were holding your drip line down. A lot of times they fall off, so when you pull it out, they're going to be left behind where they were. So just go through and check and make sure you've got them all. It's really important that you clean up all the loose debris and leaves that are left behind, especially if you had any kind of pests in your garden this year, because pests will overwinter in that debris and they'll come right back next spring. So make sure you clean it all up and put it all in your compost where it can go to use. You're also going to want to make sure that you pull up any weeds that are left in your garden so they don't regrow next spring. Also, if you haven't seen my first video about fall gardening, make sure you go back and watch that video too. Once you have your garden all cleaned up, you're going to want to add some organic fertilizer or organic compost. Any kind of all-purpose vegetable garden fertilizer will work just fine. Just follow the instructions that come with it. The last thing you're going to want to do is put your drip irrigation back into your garden. And then you're going to check it for damage. If there's any cracked lines or clogged emitters, you're going to want to repair and replace whatever you need to get it working properly. If you don't know how to do drip irrigation, make sure you go back and watch my video where I talk about how to install your own drip irrigation system, and I explain all the parts and everything you'll need to know to be able to do it yourself. Once you have your garden bed all prepared, you're ready to start planting your fall garden. You're going to want to make sure you water it really well before you plant, especially if there's been a little gap between when you've been watering your summer garden and when you start watering your fall garden. Taking the time to properly prepare your garden is going to ensure a lot more success in your fall garden, and will even help you when you plant again next spring. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, and if you want to get more content like this to help you be successful in your backyard garden, make sure you subscribe so you can get all my latest videos. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.